Yeah, hello everyone. Today, let's talk about market assessment. In our earlier presentations, we tried exploring more about entrepreneurship, wherein we tried to assess what all opportunities any entrepreneur needs to assess before stepping into business. How entrepreneur is always excited to go ahead with the interpretation of an idea which he has in his mind, how he look forward to zero down and identify what exactly he's looking forward for, how he assesses target audiences, and how he plans his plan of action. In the market assessment, we will try to understand the market opportunity assessment, what market assessment in reality is. Well, whenever we are talking about market assessments, it is a detailed and objective evaluation. Objective means it has to qualify among the resources available, among the opportunities available, and quantify on the parameters of making profit. So you need to understand the potential of a new market. You need to assess how much the market has the ability, its environment trends, its market trends, the entry barriers it can have. Entry barrier means, is the market very easy to get into? Is it difficult? What are the government regulations behind it? What is the competition? What is the substitute to the product available? What are the risk factor involved? Risk could be the market risk, the product risk, the resource risk, the finance risk which is involved in the launch of a product. And what are the company's resources and the constraints to it? Whenever we talk about constraints, it has a lot to do with conducting a market assessment, which is a very crucial first step to determine whether there's a need of a potential product in the market or no, whether there is an opportunity to create potential customer base for your product, or would it be very difficult. A well executed market assessment will enable your company to decide where to use the limited resources what an entrepreneur would have. Is it to go after the market and opportunities that will provide the best returns on investment? Or is it to take a risk? Failure to conduct the proper market assessment could lead to the wastage of resources, missed opportunities, poor returns on investment, and even substantial financial loss, which could be detrimental to the future of a company. So, whenever we are trying to push the product, we are looking forward to know that what has happened in the past. We try to assess some of the market research, we try to assess some of the surveys, we try to take example from the market leaders, and try to, after making the critical study of the potential market, potential customer base, we try to understand the launch pad. Whenever we are trying to do that, the industry analysis is the key to the whole thing. I guess before we move further, it is very important for all of us to understand what do we mean by industry. Industry, since we are talking about hospitality sector is a very versatile sector. And at the same time, we need to be very careful about the industry we are going to step into. Is the industry seasonal? Does the majority of the business operation which takes place during only one part of the year? Is the industry subject to certain regulations? What are they? Is the industry sensitive to market fluctuations? What it could be? Is the industry going, or is it stagnant, or is it in a recession? What are the technological changes ongoing in the industry? What are the financial characteristics of the industry? What are the current trends which are prevailing in the industry? Who are the market leaders? Who are there in it? And are they successful enough? Have they been able to assess the real gap analysis in the market? Or is it an impulsive buying decision what a customer made, due to which the competition is doing well? What type of the marketing strategies are prevalent within the industry? And which are the successful ones? So, market analysis would be, can you define your market clearly? But whenever we are looking forward to know our market, it is very, very important for an entrepreneur to educate himself with the need of the market, the barriers, the pitfalls which he may have to face, right? And then the entrepreneur lands up modifying his strategies and develop a plan or maybe plan of action to move further. In the market analysis, for an entrepreneur, it is very, very important to understand who are the potential customers in the market. What is the size of the market in terms of the number of potential customers and revenue? Because it actually helps us assessing the real time financial input required in making the real time business plan. How fast is the market growing? What are the marketing and communication methods you need in order to reach out to this market? And what is the appeal of your product or service? Which is largely bent on, or is it sustainable, or is it going to get replaced very easily? So, whenever any entrepreneur plans to enter into a new market, launch a fresh product, make a new investment, or start a new business, it is very important for him to make a market assessment. In this presentation, we are going to talk about a lot of steps which any entrepreneurs takes in the journey of making a market research. At the same time, we would be trying to make you question certain questions which any entrepreneur need to ask himself. There are a lot of analysis which is required because whenever we talk about business is not just made up of an idea. Idea is this is just the seed of thought. It needs to have a lot of industry analysis, market analysis, competition analysis, customer analysis, and then any entrepreneur lands up taking the right decision at the right time for the right product with the right price. The first step or the first move any entrepreneur needs to take is to define the problem. Define the problem talks a lot about assessing the gap in the market, understanding with the right research in the market what is the type of problem which is being faced by the consumer or which the consumer may need to face in future so that you can launch that very product to cater to that problem. So if the problem is not persisting, it is very, very important to capitalize. So the market analysis talks a lot about the potential customer. So potential customer always look forward to have a gap which probably is there in the market, or at times you need to create a false demand for the market. Then you need to analyze the situation. This would be an informal survey in which you need to understand from the communication which is already there in the market about the experience and expertise which is prevailing in the industry regarding your product or regarding your same industry line, wherein you can assess what competition is offering, what is the size of the market, how fast is it going, what are the type of communication methods which are being used by your competition, and largely you need to define your market very, very clearly. Then comes collecting the relevant data. This has a lot to do with conducting surveys, collecting the primary data for assessment, understanding the customer feedbacks for the new product or idea, and then being able to assess what customer wants. Data interpretation talks a lot about the assessment from the raw data what you have taken from the market through surveys. So data interpretation, it is the analyzation process. It is very complex in nature. It actually defines the scope of this particular step. It helps you analyzing your competition well. It helps you assessing certain very important questions. That could be, can the market support another player? Does the market has that capacity to accommodate one more important player in the market? Is the market that big? Or is it a small market? Or is it a very, very niche market? Can you become one of the key players? Do you have the competency? Who are the competitors and how successful are they? What do existing and potential customers like about your competitor's product and services? How do your competitor reach out to market? What are your competitors' pricing, operations, and marketing activities? Are they structured? Are your competitors making any major changes in their product offerings, their marketing strategies, or their business model? Or is it stagnant? They are not looking forward to have right innovation in place. They are not much bothered about the customer need. They are not assessing or keeping a very, very minute eye on the demand in the market or the real time gap analysis which is emerging with the supply of their own product. Then you reach down or then you zero down to this possibility of getting into a product which can be a problem solving product to that very market. This is the opportunity any entrepreneur strive forward for. This helps you achieving your objective and solve your problem. Your problem is to identify what customer want. Accordingly, you can customize the product. You can make the right assessment so that you can avoid the failure in the product launch, right? So when you are zeroing down to that particular process, when you have been able to assess what industry wants or what market wants, what competition wants or what your consumer wants, that is where you have been able to understand or interpret rightly what your product should look like. Then comes the market plan. Market plan is the strategy, this detailed step by step plan, how you will be able to achieve the object for the project, how will we be able to tailor make the project so that you have been able to cater to the market with your product and services. For that very thing, you need to have the right customer analysis. Customer analysis talks about what are the consumers' current paying capacity for comparable products and services? What factors are most important to consumers when selecting this product or service? Is it price, quality, delivery time, or any other factor? Or is there a customer loyalty? Is the customer bound to accept a particular type of flavor only? Are they biased to make that very choice? Or what makes your product or service unique, which, whenever compared to the current offerings in the market, will be able to sustain well? No matter what, you will be able to achieve the right sales. So, what are the key components to conduct the market opportunity analysis? First and foremost is to evaluate the attractiveness of a new market opportunity. You need to be able to pen down rightly whether you'll be able to make right money out of it or no, whether there would be profits or no. So there are a lot of questions, lot of analysis, lot of research and development every entrepreneur needs to go. But first and foremost, every entrepreneur need to be very, very informative. Whenever you're entering a new market, launching a new product, making a new investment, you need to altogether start a new business. You need to conduct the right assessment. You need to understand the right product with the right campaign, the right communication behind it, so that, well, everybody wants to be successful, and every entrepreneur always want to make sure that their product is successful because they have already invested in lot of time in acquiring the adequate research, but there are times they fail miserably. So whenever we are talking about entrepreneurship, it is the idea, it is the concept, right? It is the motivation tool which helps you conceptualize your ideas, your thoughts into a business model, and it is the opportunity for any person to conceptualize the ideas which is there in the back of his mind, right? But whenever any business fail miserably, it is very, very important for an entrepreneur to reevaluate and correct the plan. Because whenever you move further, it gets very, very complicated to take your business initiatives back or take your business decisions back. It is very, very important to research your customers' need and to analyze your competition well. Whenever we talk about the analysis of a consumer, customer, or a competition, it has to undergo multi levels. Multi levels would be understanding the market segment, understanding the price segment, understanding the product segment, and understanding the potential new market and the opportunity cost which is there in it. You need to identify the common characteristics. You need to identify the demographics, which are very, very important. And for that very thing, you need to assess the lifestyle of the people, their income, their ability to pay, their food habits, their assessment of knowing what the barriers would be, which would further constrain the consumption of your very product. So, get a high level view of the market. Whenever we are talking about a high level view, it basically talks about having a bird's eye view, having an eagle view, having the right assessment. How will you be able to place your product in the market which is already crowded, in which there would be few percentage of people who are not happy with the kind of product which is already availing? So that is where the opportunity is. That is where the research will help you understanding the right data and will able to clarify the right objective in front of you, how you should be able to take your company ahead, how should you be able to sell your product ahead. Moving further, we need to understand the adjacent opportunities. In adjacent opportunities, whenever we collect the relevant data, in our earlier slide, we spoke about collecting the relevant data, assessing the data interpretation. Whenever we are collecting the data, it just doesn't open the opportunity of the business prototype we are trying to create of a product which is there in the back of our mind. It also open up the adjacent opportunity which is there in the vertical value proposition in the development of the product. So whenever we are talking about the vertical value proposition, it talks about assessing the systematic and disciplined approach to expand the boundaries of your core business so that you can acquire the adjacent space. Whenever you are trying to tap one market, you will never be restricted to one market. You will always have an opportunity to grow, outgrow. So, if you have a right understanding, which you can frame by collecting the right data, and you have been able to assess that data well, you have been able to obtain the best option which your experts can use or your qualified professionals can use to carry out the step by step procedure so that you don't land up making a mistake and land up ruining your entire project. So the aim is to analyze the data which is collected with huge efforts so that you can develop a plan to solve the defined problem. Understand the business environment factors. Business environment factors doesn't just talk about the primary market research or a secondary market research. It talks a lot about the geopolitical changes which an economy can undergo, the government regulations, the economic indicators, the trade policies, the social and cultural norms of the society, which land up affecting your expansion strategy or stepping in strategy in a very, very huge manner. So the market assessment opportunity can look like understanding what kind of organization, should undertake the market opportunity assessment. Should it be B2B or B2C? Should it be large? Should it be medium? Should it be charity organization or should it be any individual? I believe right from the corporates to startups to NGOs to charities to government organization, market opportunity assessment is the most important research will help you gather and synthesize the right information. It may take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of expertise, but it helps you understanding about your customer, the competition, the industry, and the business environment. It helps you making the right assessment about the audience research, the components which are required, the strategic analysis which is required to identify the growth opportunities, and to create a detailed roadmap of how to achieve it. Any company has a huge um, stress on the revenue, growth, increase in profits, margins, diversification for revenue, future proofing. Whenever it is there, the need for market expansion or the growth opportunities is the prima facie, or a business development activity is a prima facie we are talking about. Then we are talking about huge marketing communication to back up the same. We are talking about evaluating the viability of a business growth. We are talking about evaluating and improving the current business performances so that strategically there's an improvement, there's a support, and there is a growth. How to do a market analysis? We talk big words like revenue, growth. Everybody wants to have it, right? It is very important while creating a roadmap to assess how do you do it? How do you make a market analysis? As we all know, whenever we conduct a survey, we try to identify the demographics of the market. Who is our consumer? What is his age? What is the size of my customer base? What are the preferences my customer is sitting on? What is the capita income my customer has? Who are my target audiences? What are the market needs? What is the competition which is already existing in the market? What are the barriers to entry? What are the regulations of the government? Then we can design the growth of the existing business. We can create new business for the growth at times. We can grow the periphery or ancillary of the existing business. That is where we spoke about identifying the adjacent opportunities, identifying the vertical uh, growth opportunities in the existing value proposition of a company, how we can pivot during crisis that no matter what there is a growth. To combat every crisis, it is very important to have the right detailed study of the demand. We need to always know where is the demand of the product, what is the demand of the product, what is the need of the product. Then only we can identify the growth with the highest return on investment. Then only we can talk about growing the existing business or creating a new business by having a different strategy. Often this type of things comes whenever we need to manage the growth, whenever we need to keep the swing of growth upward. That is the time when companies land up creating a lot of new businesses, because new businesses bring in new zeal in the organization. It helps you tapping the new market subsidiaries by creating the ancillaries, by quantifying and qualifying the nearest likelihoods, because you already have an experience with the successful marketing strategies which you must have implemented, and you landed up catering to all the major risks. These growth strategies could often be there in the form of acquisitions, mergers, takeovers. But for every type of expansion, it is very, very important for an organization to assess the demand, assess what customer want. With this note, that's it for today. Thank you so much.